We want to take a look now at the ever-changing Republican presidential race. The latest Fox News poll shows former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney once again the front runner for the GOP pack, while Texas Governor Rick Perry has slipped to second. Coming in a strong third, Herman Cain, who just, of course, won that Florida straw poll last weekend. Also making a surge, though, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich, who joins us this morning from Des Moines, Iowa. Mr. Speaker, good to have you with us. And in the latest CNN poll, they had you in third, which must feel pretty good.
Well, it does. I think the ideas, the solutions, the positive approach we're taking is actually beginning to work, and people are beginning to look for somebody who can meet the size of the problems we now face as a country.
So you are releasing today a new contract with America for 2011. Among the tidbits that we have that have come out this morning, you're looking to give Americans in many ways more choice. One of those proposals, you could stick with the existing tax code or have the option of using a flat tax rate. You could stick with the existing Social Security plan or maybe look at putting your money in a private personal account. You look at that and choices are great, but in many ways, especially when it comes to taxes, it feels like that could add a layer. It could add complexity, and it doesn't feel like it's reducing the size of government.
Well, in the case of the tax code, it lets you decide whether you're better off to have a one-page form or whether you want to keep your home mortgage deduction, you want to keep various other kinds of deductions that you currently have. I think it's very hard to get to a pure flat tax because people don't trust politicians and they don't want to give up all of their various deductions. But if it's your choice, and this has been done in Rhode Island, it's been done in a number of countries around the world, then people who want to can voluntarily do that. It simplifies the code for them. But the underlying point about the size of government, in our brand new 21st century contract with America, we list a series of steps we'll take, starting on the very first day with somewhere between 50 and 200 executive orders, the first of which will abolish the White House czars. Those will all be done on inaugural day. And then we move to 10 major legislative areas, one of which is to fundamentally reform and overhaul the management of the federal government for the first time since the 1880s. And we believe that would save about $500 billion a year just by that process. So I think you would see a dramatically smaller federal government. I'm the only Speaker of the House to have balanced the federal budget in your lifetime, and I think I can say with some authority, we can get back to a balanced budget if we have the right reforms, and government will be smaller, leaner, and more effective if we do it right.
And you say overall that this plan, your contract here, the new one, would fundamentally change the trajectory of this country. But you've also admitted in speaking with some folks who've seen the plan early, who you've talked with, saying that this could take some time. Their estimates it could take as much as 8 years, which would, of course, be 2 terms for any president. So are you admitting then that the changes that this country needs cannot happen overnight and, in fact, may not even be possible in 1 term?
I think the changes can begin within hours of being inaugurated. And I think the initial wave of executive orders could have a very substantial redirection impact on the country. I think that the legislative outline that we're going to release today here in Des Moines would be the first year of work in order to begin moving things. But if you're talking about a system which has been building up since 1932, 80 years next year, 80 years of bureaucracy, regulation, habits, it is going to take a little bit of time to move it. And remember, you're going to have constant active opposition from the old order. The interest groups, the bureaucracies, they're not going to go away easily. They're going to fight every inch of the way, as we've seen, for example, in Madison, Wisconsin, or as we've seen in Great Britain.
Well, even in terms of that fight, you recently had endorsement from the head of the Tea Party. The Tea Party has really made some big inroads and has garnered a huge voice in this country. But at the same time, there's a feeling by some folks that this very small group of people is starting to control the conversation. Do there need to be more voices at the table in general at this point?
Well, I think to get everything done, you need 305 million voices at the table. That's the total American population. But if you look at the issues we develop and we're dealing with, some of which are brand new, such as a very major change in how we approach brain science for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, mental health. Another is the application of this fundamental change in the management of government. Another is the implementation of the 10th Amendment, something the Tea Party movement cares deeply about, which would return power to the states from Washington. And in Medicaid alone, it's estimated would save $700 billion over the next 10 years. So I think you can bring people together, as we did in 1980 with Reagan and as we did again in 1994 with the contract with America, and you can have a large majority, not everyone, but a large majority agree that creating more jobs, balancing the budget, replacing Obamacare, developing a strong national security, and you just had a report on the danger we have from weapons of mass destruction in our big cities. We can, controlling the border, which is overwhelmingly supported, having an American energy policy, which is about 80% of the American people favor. I think we can build a coalition that's very big in favor of this change.
All right. Well, we will be following as this shakes out over the next year plus, and we'll be following your progress as well. Thanks for your time this morning, Mr. Speaker.
Great.